Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Now, the Liberal Party and the National Party have long enjoyed a close symbiotic relationship. So last week, it was especially fascinating for me as a political entomologist to watch the National Party parasite attempting to take over its host organism. As it turned out, it didn't work and things returned to what passes for normal. As leader of the Nationals, Michael McCormack said...
The Prime Minister and I speak every day, David, as you would imagine, and I have his full support.
So we know his future is assured. One thing we did discover, though, looking at the complex, interconnected relationship between the Libs and the Nats, was the existence of a third organism that they both rely on to survive as a working government. It's called the Liberal National Party. And what's the best way to describe it? If you think of the Liberal and National parties as a kind of coalition centipede... then the LNP is the middle guy. Anyway, there was talk of them leaving, but then they thought, no, we're onto a good thing here. We're going to stay. Mind you, it should be said that all that unpleasantness with LNP member Lou O'Brien deciding not to sit with the Nationals anymore at play lunch is worrying National Party leader in his mind, Barnaby Joyce.
Is that the Chattanooga choo-choo?
He reckons this.
If everybody who's in the LNP sits in the LNP and not in the National Party then disappears.
Yeah, it disappears. So I guess when Barnaby says...
Our job is to represent the near invisible Australians.
He's actually talking about the Nationals themselves. It's just self-interest, isn't it? Frankly, it's getting hard to tell who stands for what and with who these days. You've got Labor siding with some of the Nationals to help defeat the Liberals installing the Nationals' deputy leader they wanted in the House of Reps. You've got Jackie Lambie withdrawing her support of the Coalition's union-busting bill until the Liberals released the PMO report about the Nationals' Bridget McKenzie, thus helping Labor. You've got Pauline Hanson withdrawing her support of Labor, who'd formed an alliance with the Centre Alliance to oust the Liberals' Matthias Cormann as leader of the Senate. And we did, incidentally, contact Senator Cormann for an interview, but were told no one from his office was available to come in. Hang on a minute. Darius, what are you doing here? Darius! Of course, the Labor Party has been having problems too, undermining itself from behind with the so-called Otis Group. And perhaps the best analogy for this is Professor Quirrell from Harry Potter, who represents the opposition front bench with the back of his head representing Joel Fitzgibbon and his pro-coal supporters. Anyway, like the CGI shown here, the whole thing turned out to be not terribly effective. But the question remains, who are Labor's Otis Group and what are they all about? Perhaps the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, explained it best.
The only breakaway I'm aware of is the Otis breakaway. I don't know if that's Milo and Otis, or it's just Otis, or how many others there are involved in this, but over more than 20 Labor MPs getting together. I don't think there's a lazy Susan at the Otis, but that tends to be the way things are done in the Labor Party. They go off to lunches, they make deals, and it seems that the Leader of the Opposition has a few things to explain when it comes to his last trip around a lazy Susan.
And we asked Lazy Susan to come on the show tonight, but apparently she couldn't be bothered turning up. Also coming up, Ford versus Holden. Well, the result's in, it's Ford. Plus the man with the map, Ugly Jim Spoons with the latest on the coronavirus. Although it's not called that now, is it, Jim?
Well, that's right, Shaun. They give these viruses such funny names these days, don't they?
Who does?
That's right. COVID-19, they're calling it.
Who's calling it?
Exactly. And why shouldn't they? It's their job.
Whose job?
Certainly. The Director General, Tedros Adhanom, just announced it.
Oh, the World Health Organisation.
Yeah, who?
The World Health Organisation.
That's right. Who named it?
The World Health Organisation.
That's what I'm saying!
Anyway, more of that coming up later, so you might want to switch over to Survivor. But the big story this week is coal. Is it going to go the way of the penal treadmill? Because coal's not only on the... Look it up. Coal's not only on the nose and in the eyes in Australia these days, but in countries as kick-ass as Germany, they've decided to shut down all their coal-fired power plants by 2038 at the latest. Now, you're probably thinking, well, that's just Germany. They have lots of crazy ideas. Remember the Protestant Reformation? What the fuck was that all about? Or dressing up like this to drink beer when really all you need is a blue singlet or a high-vis vest. And this question affects mainly young people in this country, so we thought we'd put together a youth panel like they do on Q&A, except hopefully not as annoying.
Yeah, well, like, the thing is that, like, Germany is, like, the largest economy in Europe, right? And, like, we don't even have an economy, right? And so, like, what small signs of life there are rely on us, like, digging up coal and, like, selling to poor, unsuspecting ethnos like China and India, whatever we don't use to make our electricity.
So the question is, should we take a principled stand that costs us money but helps make the world more inhabitable? Or should we continue to rake in that 1.2%, even though we'll be too dead to spend it?
Oh, well, what are the alternatives?
Oh.
Jacinta.
Nuclear energy.
On that, our new Resources Minister, Keith Pitt, is a big fan of nuclear energy. Oh, hey, come on, hey. Keith Pitt looks nothing like Dr. Strangelove. See? See, his head's on a slightly different angle. Anyway, Keith's a big fan of nuclear energy, but the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, said there'd be no change to the government's position on nuclear power. Keith's view on climate change, though, is that it's always been changing and that we need to be very careful that we don't get to the point where it becomes a religion for individuals.
Yeah, that's because if climate change was a religion, it would be protected under the Religious Freedoms Bill.
Yes, well, if we have to get rid of coal-fired power plants, then perhaps Keith and Jacinta are right and nuclear energy is worth looking at. I think
not be necessary, mein Führer. New coal-fired power plants could be built in Queensland on the condition that they not be used in any way. And we could continue to export coal, providing they agree not to burn it. That way we could have our cake and be eating it too.
Yes, but, Doctor, if we can't burn the coal in these coal-fired power plants, how would we generate electricity to power our smart fridges or recharge our battery chargers?
The coal-fired power plants would be very big, yes? We could cover them with solar panels and perhaps wind turbines. Also, by not burning our own coal, we would have more to sell overseas. This would prove most lucrative, yes?
Yes, but if these countries aren't allowed to burn the coal, will you sell them? Why would they buy it?
Forbidden fruit is all the more sweeter because it is forbidden, yeah? People would be attracted to the coal in the same way that they would buy a priceless work of stolen art or conflict diamonds. Its very illegality is alluring. Of course, they could not burn it for all the world to see, but could store it underground, secure in the knowledge that they possess it, and only they know where the treasure is buried.
Yeah, if they're going to bury it, why dig it up out of the ground in the first place?
They are saving it for a rainy day, assuming it's not too rainy because of the floods.
Well, thank you, Dr. Strangelove. And coming up after the break, the teenager shaping up to be our answer to Greta Thunberg puts the Australian perspective to the world.
We demand you stop listening to climate alarmists now. All you give us is empty words and promises that you are ignoring the science. You tell us you're not doing anything about climate change, but then we find out we will beat our Paris Climate Agreement target. How dare you? You come to us for hope. You have stolen our dreams of a future filled with coal-fired power stations by your insistence on subsidising renewable energy. We demand investment in fossil fuel exploration now, because what is the point of having a planet we can all live on if economic growth remains below 3%?
Well, now that Joko Widodo is out of the country, I'm a bit more comfortable about raising this embarrassing breach of protocol that occurred last week. You see that vacant chair there? That's a premium front row seat with an excellent view of Joko giving his address to Parliament. And it was reserved for the Leader of the Nationals in the Senate, Bridget McKenzie, who, instead of sitting in that chair, was up in the backbenches sitting next to Matt Canavan, contrary to the seating plan issued by the Parliamentary Attendants. Has she learned nothing? Bridget continues to ignore the advice of public servants and choose whichever seat that suits her. Which leads us very neatly in tonight's Sport. Well, nothing ever escapes the eagle eye of Senator Erica Betts. Now, come on. I've told you before that Erica Betts looks nothing like Colonel Klink from Hogan's Heroes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Nothing ever escapes the eagle eye of Senator Erica Betts. Have a look at this.
Next issue I seek to clarify, you did find that no ineligible project or application was funded.
No, Senator, that's not what we found.
Yes, the National Audit Office's Executive Director pointed out to Eric that...
Late applications were taken on board, which were ineligible under the guidelines.
And also that 8 projects had been completed before the funding agreement had been signed, which meant they were also ineligible, and also that there were 270 or so projects where the project had started before the funding agreement was in place, which also renders them ineligible. So, to summarise...
We get to around 43% of those which were awarded funding. By the time the funding agreement signed, we're ineligible.
Therefore, when the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, and everybody else in government tells us that no ineligible projects were funded, they're right, give or take a margin of error of 44%. Incidentally, it is worth noting that this Senate inquiry was backed by Anthony Albanese. In an effort, he says... to restore the confidence in the government of clubs like the Kyneton Soccer Club, who wanted to resurface their pitch, and indeed all those who wanted to improve their community sporting facilities and submitted applications for grants.
Thinking that there was a level playing field.
Mind you, if they thought they had a level playing field, then the Kyneton Soccer Club shouldn't have applied for that money to fix it up in the first place. But Prime Minister Morrison has made an important... And that's just bamboozling, isn't it? Yeah, I get it. Very clever. Anyway, the PM has made an important Senate crossbencher even more cross than she is usually with his handling of the sports affair.
Does he take us all for morons, does he? Does he take millions of Australians out there for absolute morons?
Well, the Prime Minister's life coach and travel agent joins us now. Leo Hatred, does Mr Morrison take us all for absolute morons?
No, he fully appreciates that there are degrees of moronicity and no two morons are exactly as moronic as each other.
And while we have you, just on the Collinsville coal-fired power plant, if the feasibility study recommends the plant go ahead, what action will the government take?
Well, we'll take the action that we take.
And what will that be?
Well, what it won't be is the action that we don't take.
And what action won't you take?
Well, what that won't be is the action we take.
And when do you expect the study to be completed?
It'll be completed when it's finished.
Yeah, but when do you expect to see it?
When they give it to us.
And when do you expect them to give it to you?
Just before we have it.
And when will you have it?
Just after they've given it to us.
When will they give it to you?
When it's ready.
When will it be ready?
When it's completed.
When will you answer a question directly?
I'll never answer a question directly. Oh, fuck.
Whether you're planning a destabilising subterfuge or the formation of a rebel group, let the friendly staff at Otis Dining Hall Canberra cater for your next political coup. Otis, where the knives are always out.
This South American ground snail can travel at speeds of up to 150 kilometres per hour, but chooses not to for personal reasons. Like many snails, it has both male and female reproductive organs, doubling its chances of scoring when it goes out to clubs, or even if it stays home by itself.
Shaun Micallef's polyamorous self-pleasuring gastropods of Bolivia on ABC and iView.
Back home in Australia, and while the US Navy is thinking about cutting its submarine fleet in 2021, Australia's outstanding order for Australia's 12 attack-class subs is set to go into production a year later. But it's not all smooth sailing for the Australian subs, which are supposed to be at least 50% Australian-made, because according to the French company in charge, Australian businesses are not good enough to help build them. Vice Rear Cabin Boy Sir Bobo Gargle.
And Bar.
Of course. You're in charge. Are the French right? Are we simply not good enough to help make these things?
Oh, we're hopeless, Shaun. We can't even manufacture something as simple as a car anymore in this country. How on earth could we cope with something as complicated as an airtight underwater boat? We should stick to what we do best, digging up non-renewable resources, cricket and going on Asian sex holidays.
It is a pity, though, isn't it? $80 billion would have been a good investment. 6 months ago, these submarines were worth $50 billion for the same amount of work.
No, there's no doubt there's money to be made, Shaun, and hopefully, if there are more blowouts, we'll see more and more of our taxpayer dollars in Aussie pockets, regardless of how little we end up doing. But I don't think any of us here in this country go to work every day expecting to make any money.
Well, not according to our wage growth figures, no.
But when I joined the Navy, Shaun, as a young pup, it was to see the world with other like-minded lads and, to a lesser extent, women, sandwiched together in close quarters with only one shower between us, and sometimes not even that. And let's not forget that these will be the world's most expensive conventionally powered submarines, which will be a real advantage on the battlefield. Other countries won't want to so much as scratch our subs for fear of what it'll do to their insurance premiums. Let's face it, making unnecessarily expensive things for the international market is what the French do best.
Yes. Champagne?
Dom Perignon?
Cheese?
Pont l'Evêque?
Tourist attractions?
The Champs-Élysées?
And if the sea levels rise and that tourist attraction is vulnerable to an attack by submarine?
Well, then we Champs-Élysées the cracker!
Hello? Oh, I see. Yeah, all right. Bye-bye. Yeah, sorry, I beg your pardon. Sorry, I'm so sorry, Bubba. Apparently, can I just explain? Apparently, because of the $83.7 million ABC budget freeze, we've had to sack the Kraken. Instead, here's new Q&A host Hamish McDonald dressed as a robot. It's interesting, isn't it? We've got a robot on, and it doesn't do the robot dance. Right now, though, a sketch, and I hope you enjoy it.
Stella, my love, would you mind sending in the next Paralympian hopeful, if you please? His name is Mr. Spigot.
Right away, sir.
What's happening?
Good morning.
You wanted to see me, IB?
I did, Micallef. Take a seat.
Well, actually, thanks, but we're right in the middle of doing the show. I've got to be back at the desk before the sketch finishes.
Yes, I've been watching it. And tell me, how is it that you're able to be both in the sketch and in my office simultaneously?
Well, the sketch is pre-recorded. We shot it yesterday.
You shot it yesterday?
Yes, yesterday, with cameras. We record the footage on cameras and then we play it back to the audience.
Oh, amazing. What will they think of next?
Yes. Was there anything else?
Yes, I wanted to run an idea past you before I put it to the board. Ethnic diversity. How do we avoid making it look like we've hired people because of their race?
Well, maybe not announce that you've introduced a hiring policy based on what country they come from?
Well, you seem to manage it without the Conservative press accusing you of tokenism.
Well, our show's pretty white.
White is the absence of colour. Neat sidestep, Micallef. You keep this up and you'll be hosting a reboot of Randling.
Actually, I think black is the absence of colour.
That's racist.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Public broadcasting is a difficult thing, Micallef. When I was on Studio 10, all I needed to know was which camera I was on and where I could hide if Denise Drysdale was coming.
Yeah, well, simpler times.
OK, well, you finish your little sketch.
Right.
Oh, and ask that big Irish-looking fellow to come in here after the show. I'd like him to dance for me.
Yes, we'll do, IB.
OK.
Thank you.
Right.
If Abdul-Jabbar came in here claiming
Not
to be a human
announced.
torso, I would have
But,
already sent him away with a flea in his ear.
So there's hope?
Oh, look at him.
A senior Coles executive says supermarkets could soon be checkout free as innovations in retail technology make the traditional purchasing experience redundant. Greg Davis, his real name, says customers will be able to take the product off the shelf, put it in their basket and walk out. And this system has already been trialled in one of Adelaide's northern suburbs. Eric Clapton, you've been using this system at your local Coles for some time.
Yeah, it's just like he said. I just put everything in my basket and walk straight out.
And you don't even have to swipe anything?
Other than your shopping, that.
Well, time now for a new segment, one you're going to be seeing a lot more here on the ABC from now on. So News Corps, don't accuse us of bias. Two sides to everything. OK. Well, should we ban the swastika? The Governor-General, David Hurley, says we should have a national debate to decide. Now, some might say we had this debate about 80 years ago and the Nazis lost, but it never hurts to bring it all up again, does it? Presenting the two sides to this thing are Tony Beadle from Free Speech Costs Nothing.
Now, hang on, this moustache is fucked.
Just push it down on the side there.
Huh?
There you go. And Sammy Twerb from the National Anti-Swastika Initiative.
Salutations.
Now, Tony, do you think the swastika should be banned?
No.
Sammy, do you think the swastika should be banned?
Yes.
Well, that certainly covers both sides of the argument. I was hoping for a more detailed analysis, but there we go. We have some time to kill, so perhaps we should open it up for discussion. Yes, there in the middle.
Hi, Shaun, it's me, with my hand up here.
Yep,
Hello.
see you. Yep, and Debbie, you are a neo-Nazi skinhead?
No, a lot of people make that mistake, though, Shaun. I just wear my hair like this because it's a bit easier, and I had the sleeves of my jacket ripped off in an escalator accident on the way in.
Shaun, can I just say, obviously banning the swastika is going to be bad for us because it's a big part of our logo. And it's quite a striking design. It really projects strength. But we're willing to make that sacrifice to get rid of this symbol of hate, effective though it may be in driving recruitment.
Tony.
Well, the swastika is an ancient religious symbol, very popular in Asian countries with people who wouldn't be allowed here if I had my way. But until then, you don't have the right to tell them what they can and can't do, because once you start banning things, you're on the slippery slope to fascism.
Fascism? Well, you can't just go and ban people like us from banning things, can you? Because then you're as bad as we are.
Yes, sadly, we'll have to leave it there as I've grown weary of it. But if you go online after the show, you can have a look at this on YouTube. And right now, here's Blake with some advice for home buyers.
OK, let me have your attention for a moment. The property market's come roaring back to life, but there are property crisis fears. Let's talk about something important, OK? Everyone watching this?
Well, maths is on.
I'm going anyway. Let's talk about something important. FHLDS, the First Home Loan Deposit Scheme, introduced by the federal government last year to get the government elected and to help first home buyers like you get into the property market sooner. 10,000 slots across 27 different mortgage lenders, 10,000 more spaces in July of this year. Put that coffee down. You think I'm fucking with you? I am not fucking with you. You call yourself a home buyer, you son of a bitch? You got 15% of your deposit already paid. The federal government paid good taxpayer money towards that. Go and look at a house and buy it. You can't buy a house with the money they got for you. You can't buy shit. You are shit. Hit the bricks, pal, and beat it, because you are locked out of the market. The economy is weak. The economy is weak? Fucking economy is weak? You're weak. Can't play in the game, you can't close the deal, then you go back to your parents' house and you tell your folks. Because only one thing counts in this life. Sign on the line which is dotted. You hear me, you fucking assholes? A, B, C. A always, B, C closing, always be closing, always be closing. You got 10,000 slots, 10 more coming in July. The government are sitting there waiting to give you their money. The money's there, you pick it up, it's yours. You don't, I have no sympathy for you. I don't have to listen to this shit. What's the problem, pal? You, Micallef, you see this watch? You see this watch?
Sure, yeah.
I don't even need it because I can tell the time from my phone. You know what it takes to buy real estate? It takes brass balls to buy real estate. I don't need to be here talking to you losers. I'm here as a favour to Morrison and McCormick. I already own a home. I was born in '62, you sons of bitches. Back to you, Shaun.
Thanks, Blake. Well, after the break, E. coli milk recalled.
Ah, yes. It was a cool, crisp morning. The birds were singing, the sunlight dappling through the window of my laboratory when the idea first occurred to me. E. coli flavoured milk. It was an unusual choice, I remember the CEO of Dairy Farmers telling me, but nothing ventured, nothing gained, eh? Cheers.
Cheers.
Not as nice as I remember.
Well, not coming up because black comedy's on in a minute.
Joint solution to aged care and recycling crisis. Future Academy Awards to be held earlier in the year to avoid clash with Alan Border Medal. And Maths Bride's cosmetic surgery goes too far.
And finally, who misses Bill Zingers? Anybody out there miss Bill Zingers? I know. Since Bill has retired to the front bench off to the side, we don't have our Zinger segment anymore. And there really has been no one who comes even close to replacing him in terms of coming up with beautifully crafted burns. That is, until now. Michael McCormick's sent in this audition tape where he lays out his comedy credentials in this charmingly self-deprecating story.
I've got a bit of humour. I mean, I went to the Surf Lifesaving Club opening on Friday and talked about the importance of resuscitation and how I might have needed a little bit in the past week or fortnight. You know, I'm happy to laugh at myself.
But of course, you do need to please a bigger audience if you want to make it in the zinger business. Plus, you need to zing someone else other than yourself. So here's Michael. Here's Michael taking aim at Albo over the Otis Group. Let's see if he's got what it takes.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I was very interested in on my left. The Otis menu, Mr. Speaker. Very, very interesting reading. On the menu is ravioli egg yolk, and Mr. Speaker, no doubt the leader of that group, the member for Hunter. The member for Hunter, Mr. Speaker, he had that when he went there for dinner because today he's got egg all over his face, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, I hope he keeps his job. Goodbye.
Giant baby.